Have you ever watched a UFC fight and thought, how the heck do they do it? Seriously, these athletes are in insane shape, both physically and mentally, and they fight with a level of precision and intensity that most of us can't even comprehend. So what's the secret to their success? Is it just pure talent, or is there something deeper going on that we don't see? Well, grab a seat, because I'm about to give you the lowdown on the hidden formula behind UFC fighters' success. First, let's talk about the mental game. I know, it sounds cliché, but trust me, the mind is just as important as the body in the UFC. Fighters need to have a mindset that's absolutely bulletproof. Imagine stepping into a cage surrounded by thousands of screaming fans with someone whose only goal is to knock you out. That takes guts, right? But UFC fighters don't just have guts, they have mental toughness. They train their minds as much as they train their bodies. They've learned how to stay calm under pressure, how to block out the distractions, and how to keep pushing when their body is telling them to quit. They know that no matter how much you prepare, things won't always go according to plan. But it's how you handle the tough moments that make you a champion. Another massive part of a UFC fighter's success is discipline. We've all seen those videos of fighters going through brutal training camps, sweating buckets, pushing their bodies to the limit. It's not pretty, and it's definitely not easy. But here's the thing. The best UFC fighters know that success doesn't happen without putting in the work. They don't just show up for a fight and hope for the best. They train every single day, hard. Whether it's doing hours of grappling, sparring, strength training, or perfecting their striking, they're putting in the grind. And let's not forget about their diet. UFC fighters are on strict nutrition plans that keep them at peak performance. It's not about being on a diet for a few weeks, it's about making it a lifestyle. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked: teamwork. I know it looks like a UFC fighter is out there alone, fighting their own battle, but in reality, they have a team of coaches, sparring partners, and specialists who help them prepare. From strength coaches to mental coaches, nutritionists to physiotherapists, these fighters don't get to the top on their own. They rely on their team to make sure they're not only physically prepared, but also mentally sharp. It's a collaborative effort. Everyone has a role to play in the fighter's success. Without a solid team, a fighter is only going to get so far. Okay, I have to take a moment and give a huge shout out to you, the reader. If you're here reading this, it means you're interested in learning and growing. You want to understand what makes these athletes tick, and that's a big step toward your own success, whether it's in fighting or any other area of your life. So thank you for being here and diving into this with me. Keep that hunger for knowledge alive, and trust me, it'll take you far. Back to the UFC fighters. Another crucial factor in their success is adaptability. The best fighters aren't rigid in their approach. They don't stick to the same game plan every time, especially if it's not working. UFC fighters are constantly evolving. They're always working to improve, learn new techniques, and adapt to their opponent's style. If a fighter is stuck in their ways, they're going to get left behind. The ability to adapt is what keeps these athletes ahead of the game. They're never complacent, and that's what separates the good from the great. But let's not forget about the love for the sport. UFC fighters don't just do it for the paycheck or the fame. Sure, those things come with success, but most UFC fighters have a deep passion for mixed martial arts. It's something they've been doing for years, even before they stepped into the cage for the first time. It's that passion that drives them to keep going, even when it's tough. When you truly love something, you're willing to put in the work, the sweat, and the tears. UFC fighters live and breathe the sport, and that love is what fuels them through the hard times. And last but definitely not least, resilience is key. Every UFC fighter has faced setbacks. Whether it's a tough loss, an injury, or a bad performance, they've had to deal with failure. But what sets the successful ones apart is their ability to bounce back. They don't let failure define them. Instead, they use it as fuel to get better. They take the lessons from their losses, tweak their approach, and come back even stronger. This resilience is what ultimately keeps them at the top. So what's the secret? It's not just about being a good fighter or having natural talent. It's about having the right mindset, the discipline to put in the work, the support of a great team, the ability to adapt, the passion for the sport, and the resilience to keep going. Have you ever watched a UFC fight?